Hello, my name is Ruben Barnes. I'm from What's on the Table, and this is my good friend Ruben Martin. I'm down here in Texas, hanging out with some good old friends, and we decided to just talk about Magic in general. And a little bit, we might talk about some other things, maybe some board games, maybe chess. Ooh, would be fun. Uh, but definitely, right now, me and Ruben here are going to talk about Magic. Ruben, go ahead and introduce yourself, explain a little about yourself and what your experience in Magic is.
Oh, hey, I'm Ruben Martin. I've been playing Magic since Theros came out, so it's been, I don't know, it's probably been...
It's a while. I think it was 2014.
Well, we've already been back to Theros, so...
Yeah.
I'm not great, but I study the game. I like playing the game. I watch it a lot. I have a couple decent wins over some pros, but haven't really put the time into making a big push yet. That might be on the table, but I definitely...
Well, a lot of that is, though, because you've been between last few all this time of us ever playing Magic. Me and you were also at one point both doing international level judo, trying to
right.
But that's a whole different aspect. That's actually how I know Ruben is through judo. We're both black belts, and he is currently the number one ranked heavyweight, and I am the former number one ranked heavyweight. So they're a little fun. Heavyweight bros.
Right.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But
we were talking about Magic.
Yeah.
And what topic would you want to talk about again?
I think it'd be interesting to just kind of discuss the different colors of Magic, and their power level, what the colors actually are known to do.
Okay.
There's some things blue does that red can't do.
Yeah.
Bounce things
And counter
spells. Things. And,
red can counter, but specifically to counter blue. So red only counters just to spite blue.
Right.
Right.
Red's decent at drawing cards.
Oh no! Generally you're discarding cards to do so, though.
That's true.
You're not gaining advantage while you're drawing with red. You're discarding stuff to gain cards back. You're looting through, but
I guess since we already start with red, and it is the fastest and most of the time the first to get to damage or to do anything, why don't we start with red?
That makes most sense for me.
I'm also in the red shirt, so maybe there's that too.
Oh, sweet Lord. All right, so let's start off with the current going format, whereas in the main format standard. Let's talk about that one first and what's red doing in there.
Yeah, so I think red took a big hit with the rotation.
The last rotation, I heavily agree because I called it out too. When all my friends were I'm like, mono red's going to be hurting after the last rotation. This current rotation, it's not. It's not the same where it was. But last year's rotation, red got hurt hard.
Yeah, it just had red's still putting up results, and it's always going to, because when you're playing a fast deck, which is what red's typically known for, if your opponent slips, you're going to make them pay for it. You're just going to be able to close the game.
Fervent Champion, Slaying Fire, and Torbane are the only thing keeping red alive right now.
Yeah, Torbane,
which is Eldraine. Eldraine's the only thing keeping red alive.
Yeah. And anytime there's a rotation, most of the pros will play the aggro deck just to kind of unless a deck
as a way to climb. Well, Omnath we can't really fully talk about yet because it's as of today or as of yesterday just officially legal, so it's still
right.
It seems broken, but hopefully it's not. Hopefully that's mostly just empowering it.
Yeah, so what red's doing is what it's kind of always done is you have small haste creatures.
And aggressive, doing extra damage.
And
if they don't have haste, they're doing damage.
Right, and you have some burn spells. Cool thing in red right now is actually Annex, the demigod, because
he puts a bunch of tokens.
He really helps defend against opposing board wipes.
Oh yeah,
removal spells.
Yeah, I actually have a thing talking about him in Commander outside of Standard. But no, he definitely helps. I think something else that also will help is the new Minotaur that just came out in Zendikar, the one that gives you every time as landfall you get extra combat steps. That seems pretty good.
Yeah, taking extra combats, that's something red, has been known for in the past.
It hasn't done it in a minute, but it's back doing it again. So
yeah, I think the last time we had the extra combat
It's a lot
phase was
fair.
in Omniket with the human, the 2 colorless, 1 red human.
That was just a
the
mono red. That was,
Exalted,
that was just a mono red. Yeah, because we did the red white stuff from the Boros, But that's we're talking about mono red. Here.
Right.
No, I think Morag will be very interesting. What makes him fair and not broken is the fact that you don't get the extra main phase afterwards. Otherwise, it'd be really easy with certain cards to just drop land and just it'd be very dumb. It'd be very abusable. But thankfully, he's not. Can't go, especially on Commander. But that's a whole other animal as well.
Yeah, and being a 6-drop, that's typically not what you see from most competitive red drops, unless you combine it with another color. That's known to ramp.
Yeah. And speaking of ramp, let's talk about the most overpowered color in Standard right now.
Yeah.
Green.
I mean, all you people who said blue, you were close.
Blue. A lot of blue's power
close.
A lot of blue's power is coming from green, though. Let's be real. Green's been just. And I get it, because for the longest time, when you started, was green very good by itself?
By itself, no. It always had to be paired with.
It was green.
Something.
Green was the weakest solo color for the longest time, and this has been last I think 3 years. Last 3 years, ever since Carnage Tyrant, they've really been pushing as in either mono green or green with just a little bit of something else, but green being the forefront. I think Ixalan Carnage Tyrant really started pushing that.
I mean, good for green. Like, when you think about green and you think about old green, you think about a 2-drop creature that is a 2 power, 2 toughness. And, that's what they had for a long time.
Or here's a 6-drop, 8/8 with nothing. No abilities. He's a big boy, and who's just going to sit there and get blocked by 1/1s all day.
Yeah. So, I mean, so green, known for ramp. Right, putting big things into play,
and that's why for the longest time it was like you said, it was good in other decks. It was good with other colors, but it wasn't great on its own.
And right now, you actually have a viable Stompy green standard deck, and some could argue fringe competitive modern deck.
I agree. Well, I agree. Even in decks like Infect and whatnot, still green is the majority of the color. You're not playing too many you're only playing a handful of other. You're only playing a handful of the cards of other colors. It's still there's still green is very strong right now. But the problem is it's too strong in Standard, especially with another color. But what things are you most? What cards are you most impressed about in green right now?
So if we're talking about mono green,
we'll get into the other problem. We'll get into the problem of Standard right now. Go ahead.
We got this green creature who happens to be a 3-drop, green, comes in as a 4 with 4 1/1 counters on it, and anytime you cast another green creature, it gets an additional 1/1 counter. So this thing just gets out of control really fast.
What card is that? Is that a new card in Zendikar?
No, it's actually from Throne of Eldrin.
Oh, I can't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about. What's your opinion on questing? What's your opinion on questing beast?
Yeah, questing beast, man. I mean, so first of all, anytime you read a card like that and it has all that text, you're just
so many keywords.
What does this thing do?
It's got
and then on top of that,
keywords. And then
you get all of that. You get all of that text for 4 mana.
So dumb.
In a color that you're accelerating, so it could actually come down a turn earlier. I mean,
turn 2 if you really. Well, turn 2 when before that rotation.
Right, but now turn 3 with your 2 mana creature that accelerates mana. Yeah, questing beast.
It's still really good. Turn 3, dropping was it a 4/4?
Being able to
it says, oh, little things can't block me. You can't gain life, or you can't prevent damage, and I'm hitting you hard.
Right. So the big thing with it not being able to prevent damage is the death touch that it has.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
So cards like anything that tries to prevent the damage or protection spells don't work against it.
Which
And
that's a bigger thing in other formats.
being
not so
able
much
to
in
hit
standard.
planeswalkers without actually attacking planeswalkers, like
that's
another
dumb.
text that he has
That's
on this
dumb.
card, like.
This card's insanely powerful.
But you know, as powerful as the card is, you never hear cries for people to get it out.
And the reason why is the next thing. We're talking about blue, and before we fully go into just pure blue, let's segue into the problem of the format. Blue-green, Wizards, why? Why did you keep printing so many powerful blue-green cards, set after set after set after Many people will agree this rotation could not have come soon enough.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it could have all been.
Oko.
It could have all been.
That's enough. We'll talk about that card. That's when we have more colors.
I mean, it could have all been prevented had there been more extensive
R&D.
play testing.
Well, the problem is, you know how R&D works. Like, you know how they play test, right? They draft.
I mean,
they do some actual testing with cards. They do some. They check on what the format is, what popular cards are going, what popular decks are going, and they do check. Okay, this card should be helpful, but sometimes R&D lets out cards that really shouldn't be let out because part of it's also to sell sets.
There's just no, like, you just have to have several different options of answering something so that interaction is created. Like a card like Uro, like what ways in standard are you interacting with this guy who's exiling him or like using like graveyard, like I mean graveyard doesn't even work. Like Tomrod's Crypt. Oh no, that does. That exiles the graveyard.
Yeah, well, there are cards that exile stuff on the grave, but the problem is, how are you going to have all your cards that do that for all their Uros, because they're going to draw their other Uros before you're going to draw your other.
Not even like it's the decks that Uro's in aren't even great graveyard synergy decks. It's just that he's constantly a reoccurring threat.
It's 3 mana to. If I told you, hey, here's a card that's 3 mana that says play it, gain 1 life, draw a card, and then put a land on the battlefield, and if I told you that was just an instant speed spell, wouldn't you think that's amazing?
I would think it could. There's a chance it'd be played.
Instant speed, 3 mana, gains you a life, draws you a card, puts a land on the battlefield. That's literally just Growth Spiral with an extra mana for 3 more life.
I mean, yeah, I think it'd definitely be played. I don't know how amazing, but I think it'd be played.
So then I tell you, okay, it's not instant speed, but now it has a 6/6 body attached to it that's recurable when it attacks.
So that's where the overpower comes in, is the ability to just redo this over and over and over again. And then if you have multiple Uros and you just cast multiple Uros, you're just fueling it for him to come back.
And until recently, Hydroid Crisis was just an insanely powerful card. That even if you countered it, if you were playing a control deck and you countered it, they're still getting the draw. They're still getting the life gain. Because Hydroid's off cast, which is...
So that's what goes back to my point, where you don't have efficient interaction with these strong cards. Now, if you had something like Anguished Unmaking, or Utter End, like these exile effects at instant speed... I mean, okay, so they're still getting to enter the battlefield trigger with the play an additional land and gain life, but at that point you don't have to worry about the 6/6 body or the recursion.
But I think the issue is just that no matter what you do to them, they're going to start now outpacing you, getting more position, getting more cards in hand, getting more land on battlefield, and they're going to keep doing it over and over again. You can only have so many removal spells, which even if they did, it helped. Those cards would help, definitely. But the cards in the Oko was an insane problem. Like, there's 3-mana planeswalkers.
There's just not, in my opinion, there's not enough good interaction for there to be a top tier control deck that could check these synergy decks, because that's what Uro goes in, is synergy decks.
The issue
and aggro hasn't been fast enough with the life gain that he has and the other life gain that's in the thing. Yeah. And against another mid-range, it's going to way overpower it because of the synergy that it has. And with no control decks, to keep it in check, it's just gonna run rampant, and that's what you see in the format, and that's what you've seen in the format in the past.
I think one of the biggest offenders of why there's been very lacking of any control decks is a certain Planeswalker who's finally out. Teferi Time Raveler. That card is.
Yeah.
Hey, hello, control player. Would you like to prevent your opponents from doing anything? Cool. Guess what? They're gonna do it too. You're not gonna be able to interact. I think cards like that definitely. Cards like that, they just stem interaction along with cards that just give you so much advantage. It creates unhealthy games, and how many bans just happened in the last? I think someone did a chart where it showed like between like 2006 and 2016 in standard, there was like 2 bans, and then from 2017 on, there's been like 15, like 18 bans, 20. So is it 20 bans? Yeah, 20 bans. That's
Yeah, I mean when
something's wrong.
I really
Once Upon a Time was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean that was just a mistake.
Too much free. Like there's too much. You're able to put things out way too quickly and effectively for free.
Yeah, I want to go back to the mention of Teferi. The thing with Teferi, like as soon as he rotated out, I thought Control might have a chance to succeed in the format because like you can't play counter spells when somebody has this 3-drop Teferi out, preventing you from casting instant spells. So as soon as that's gone, you think, okay, like let me start using counters.
We should, but it just happened. Remember, so we still have to watch what happens. People are still like trying to do stuff, and also.
But countering an Uro, it does nothing when you just get to play him the next turn.
They don't know guaranteed to play the next turn because they don't get the life, the draw, or the land. Because you stop from entering the battlefield. It could now, but
countering an Uro sounds way worse than playing an Uro of your own.
You can do both. Now you can do both. But Uro more than likely will be banned soon. I can't imagine it not getting banned. The card's just too much. Because all the other cards that were problematic got rotated out, like Nisso Shakes the World and Gross Spiral. But now let's kind of move into the blue. As you were saying, Control is really needing this rotation and this Uro ban. It really is. The one thing I will say is good for blue, I don't like it, but it's good for blue, is Mill. Mill seems insanely strong right now. As strong as it's been, like I think I've ever seen. Just the counterspell, you didn't say please, offends me. It offends me. Like 3 mana counterspell. Okay, I expect that, but mill some cards too. Dick. Like.
How about the counterspell, the 2-drop counterspell, where
it makes you think that you can pay 2 to not get countered, but wait, your grave's full, so you just get countered. I scry 2.
I mean, it's kind of cool, there's actually 2 different mill decks going around in standard right now. You have just your true mill, where the only game plan is to just get your opponent to put cards into their graveyard. But you also have like an alternate win condition with the rogue deck in mill. Like a lot of mills happening in the rogue deck.
The mill rogue, that's the blue-black variation. That's a very interesting... so that one seems... I see that. I wouldn't mind losing to that. Because it's hitting me, it's doing interaction and while milling me. While mono blue is just going, no. Oh, you're decked out. Good game.
And there's nothing right now in standard to give you hexproof. So
there's one. Well, not you as a player.
Yeah, you as a player. There's no way of shutting down that mill from happening.
Yeah, mill seeming really strong right now, especially if Earl gets banned. It's gonna be because honestly that was one of the biggest issues if mill wasn't if your mill game didn't go off fast enough, or if they went out or they were moving a little bit faster than you. Filling the grave for Uro triggers was not the best idea.
The issue Mill's going to have is if there's just solid decks that will just have a great matchup against it. Like graveyard interaction decks who are fast. So for instance, cycling. Like if you mill a cycling deck, you're going to die to Zenith Flare. Like you could have that counter up, but you're accelerating the deck for them by milling them. Like another deck would be, it hasn't seen any competitive play, but if you see some fringe decks, it's that combo with Storm Cloak Herald. This
Oh, yeah.
3-drop creature who has haste. When he enters the battlefield, you could attach any aura in the graveyard to him.
Yeah.
With Colossification, the 2020, the enchantment that gives
Yeah.
+20/+20.
But it taps it down.
It does tap it down, but
You gotta remove that real quick.
you have one green instant speed that untaps target creature.
Yeah, I
you
know.
could also untap your own creature with Claim the Firstborn.
Yeah,
And untap
yeah,
it.
there's definitely a lot going on with that in terms of the.
So there is that
What?
interaction with Mill that would keep
Yeah.
it in check.
But I also I feel like Mill has so many tools to work with now. It won't be overpowered, but it's definitely going to be the strongest it's been in a while. It's definitely going to be really it's going to be just real solid. So since next up, let's just talk about the other pieces. We talked about Teferi, Time Raveler a moment ago. Let's talk about White. White's all right. It's doing all right now. I can't even think of anything right now, like other than the Felidar Retreat. That card seems really good.
That card is good. That's a
And
good
well,
card.
there's also another card. We'll get to him in a second.
Yeah.
It's just-
No, Feldor Retreat's good. Of course, you want to have,
Good
green
land.
in there to get some more land drops in there. So, like,
Cultivate. Oh,
in
the
terms
friggin-
of being
the-
a mono white deck,
Something I'm actually excited about from Green, that the new the fixed version of Harrow, where it's the exact same things, of just they come in tapped. Like I'm actually somewhat excited for that because it's not overpowered. Because if it came in untapped,
Yeah.
no, they come in tapped, so it seems it's. But the landfall triggers are nasty, but it's definitely.
I think as the meta starts taking shape, there's options for white to maybe go like a prison route or an anti-meta route deck with some of like the human abilities where you could have some
Yeah.
human synergies going on, but you
Human
could push
tokens,
damage, but then you could also use containment priests.
I think white weenies really isn't super viable right now, but they're definitely white control. But even then, I feel like it still needs something to push and oomph it. I think white by itself isn't doing well right now, but the next few sets may change that.
I feel like a lot of people have been unhappy with white's power level. Like it's normally like one of the weaker colors.
Recently, the last probably about 5-6 years, it probably has been relatively ailing in many aspects. But I feel like by itself, well, even still, look at the beginning of during like Ravnica, like the first and Return and Guilds, we definitely had that. We had White Weenie was a very viable deck. So it wasn't like a bad deck because you had the what was it? You had the cards from Dominaria, the one that made History Benalia made Knights,
Yeah.
Ixalan's the landing.
The reason that deck was so good, it just curved out every time.
Curved out,
Like,
made so many.
You were doing
put so
something
much on
every
board.
Turn.
It controlled well. It also controlled well. And cards like Settle the Wreckage. Hate that card so much. Exile your attacking force. Well, okay, guess we lose then. I've lost so many times to that card. I hate that card. But white is not in the same position as it was then. Like it lost a lot, but it didn't have enough even before rotation to really do anything. Hopefully, someone will find some really cool, interesting build. Maybe with Landfall, maybe with Felidar Retreat, based off that, and the Derby, that little that adorable little. There's a 2-drop, adorable 2-drop that landfalls. It gives everything like +1/+1 for in Vigilance in the turn.
Right.
That card's adorable. That
Yeah.
card's so adorable. But speaking of white, we might as well bring up the card. Omnath.
He does have white in him.
He has white.
He also has green and blue and red.
Which we've all talked about so far. So
So-
Omnath is a card. It's weird because on paper it doesn't. If you're just reading it on paper, it doesn't seem. It seems strong, but not overly powerful, right? Because its landfall triggers are limited to 3 a turn.
Right.
So you're thinking, okay, he only gets 3 landfall triggers a turn. It enters, it draws you a card. Okay, it's 4 mana for 4, and you think it's a little bit mana restrictive. But the landfall abilities it's getting is I thought it was just strong, but I'm seeing play of it. It's insane.
The synergy that like what it aligns with. So you have a card like with Lotus Cobra out. So now you have a Lotus Cobra and an Omnath out, and your land drop is a Fabled Passage. You're gaining your life from Omnath. You're gaining an extra mana from Lotus Cobra. You fetch it off. You get another mana from Lotus Cobra, then 4 from Omnath. So now you have 6 mana from making 1 land drop. I mean, the acceleration there.
It starts getting out of hand real quick. It's definitely a.
You combine it, and then you're ramping into things like Genesis Ultimatum,
or
which will get you an
Skewed Swarm. God, that card's nuts. I've seen some people doing stuff where they mutate over it, and so it's a 4/3 body, and then they play like 2 land drops, and I got 7 lands now, and I make start making just look at all these 4/3s I got.
I actually think Omnath, of course, like, we're not going to get a ban this early on such a new card. They're still trying to sell the sets, and I don't think it's overpowered.
I don't think it's overpowered. I think with Uro gone, it'll slow it down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Uro gone will slow it down.
And maybe it might introduce more. It might encourage other decks to help kind of combat it. Because honestly, I can't see the Omnath land deck really dealing with mill too well without let's start siding in other stuff to deal with it, because mill hurts that deck pretty hard, especially with all the counter spells it has.
Yeah,
I can see it being a tough matchup naturally without a sideboard. But since we have to talk about I think it's time to talk about the most important color. Most people won't say it is, but I always think it is. Black. Black's the most important color in Magic.
Yeah, so black, you got your discard effects and your kill effects, basically. Like
reanimation too.
Black got reanimation, lifelink, death touch.
One of the cards I'm actually really interested in from Zendikar is that new Nighthawk card. I think Scourge Nighthawk. It's literally just a power creep vampire Nighthawk. It's the exact same keywords. It's at worst is a 1/3. But generally it will always be at least a 2/3, which is just Nighthawk. But it's not Nighthawk generally would be a late game dud.
Yeah, actually,
Nighthawk would be a late game dud, right?
Right.
That card's not. It comes in like, it's a what? It's a 6/3 for 3 mana with Death Touch, Lifelink, and Flying. That's not good. I think it's one of the best solo black cards come out, other than the Scourge, that demon.
Yeah.
That mythic rare. That card's also really
that
strong.
card's good. You also have the other demon with the reanimating effect. When a creature you control leaves the battlefield, you can create
Nightmare
a token
Shepherd.
of it.
Nightmare
Shepherd.
I think that's strong.
I would like Nightmare Shepherd to actually see more play.
I think he probably will with the decrease in. If Uro gets banned, I think we'll see a increase of Nightmare Shepherd, Gary combos, which
exactly.
I'm a little bit of a sucker for those because I play the deck. It's not. It's kind of disgusting. Like when all of a sudden, like, oh, cool, he has because if you have a Nightmare Shepherd and like 2 Garys and like any other kind of like say they're Black Source, they can't. They wanted to get rid of those. And let's say all you have to do is like, oh, I'm gonna sack off this Gray Merchant for something, and then do some effect like to draw or whatever. And, now it comes back as a 1/1, and then boom, more you get sucked to life again. Now I'm gonna sacrifice this one. Well, it comes back, boom, more life lost. Like it's Gray Merchant's a very powerful card. I don't know how he got printed as a rare the first time when he was printed way back in OG Theros. I still have no idea how he was not rare, common, sorry. He was a common. I don't know why I said rare. He was a common. I don't know how he was a common.
Yeah, I mean,
best common of the set.
I've always liked the devotion mechanic. So Gary's always been, near and dear to my heart.
So, I think overall, I think we have a good consensus that Uro's the problem currently. But I think it's also another issue of just Wizards overpowering green to the point where it's kind of stifling the other colors.
If you size like that, you don't get a
Because honestly, if you look at a lot of the top decks in the last probably 5-6 months on Arena, Teferi Time Raveler sees some play,
More broken than that.
but he sees enough play to keep the interactive decks out, and it's just you see just tons of Uro decks. Like it was Growth Spiral, Nissa, Uro. Just you were playing stuff for free so much. Agent and Treachery was a fair card until Luca got him banned.
I don't care where you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also just been a problem lately with R&D just trying to push sets and not really create sets and just putting out either stuff up for free or just here you now have turn 4 you're dropping 8 drops like that's.
I mean, I think
Coronavirus.
I think it all comes down to like just not having. I know I've said this. I was just beating a dead horse over the head, but like it comes down to not having efficient interaction. I mean, you have to be able to interact. It's almost like they're trying to push like to like a Yu-Gi-Oh state where you like just have it and you go off and like you win and like
you go off and do you have the thing to stop me? You don't.
You
okay,
don't,
cool.
then you go and like we don't want Magic to get to that. Like Magic's a beautiful game of interaction. You don't want somebody to have all the synergies put together and then just win. And in that Omnoth deck right now, it kind of feels like that.
It it definitely does. But as I said, I think it will. I feel like it will kind of drop a bit after. I think it will slow down a bit, just because the thing about Omnoth is they have a lot. They also have that backup in case you start hurting them and wiping them. They have the backup of Uro, which gets them right back into the game.
Yeah, what goes in that spot? Because that's still going to be a deck.
I think it's probably. Honestly, I don't know. Really, honestly, it could be a lot of things. They might try just messing around with. Because not every deck plays the Felidar Retreat version. Some mostly just focus on green with a little bit of blue, white, and red just to kind of help it out. But I think they'll just probably. I think each deck's gonna figure out different things of it. Some will go more white, some will go more red. Some might try Morag as extra combats. Some might just double down on green. But so this will be the end of this part. We'll continue on with the other formats and the colors. So this is the end of this video. My name is Ruben Barnes. I'm from West of the Table with my good friend Ruben Martin. And favorite, subscribe, share this to everybody. All right? Everybody. All right. Bye.